Most dads think that the reason they can't work out anymore is because they just don't have the time. But that's very rarely actually the problem. And the problem is just where they're placing all their priority. So every man's life, regardless if he's a father or not, usually comes down to three main areas. And I'm yet to see anyone kind of tell me that this isn't the case. And if you disagree, then please do leave a comment below and let me know that I'm wrong. But usually it comes down to three main areas. And I'm going to show you this on a triangle. It's a fairly wonky triangle, but just for visualization purposes, just stay with me here. So the first one that they have is their family and their social life. One of the most important things to most dads, I would say, is family and social life. It's one of the most important things in the world to me. Second thing is their work. Again, something that's very important to most dads is work. They want to make sure that they have all the work being able to be done. And finally, the last one is just their health and fitness. Health, and we just put it in as health for now. So that's the three main areas in your life. And what I used to believe before I became a dad was that you can actually only focus on two of these areas at one time in order to actually make any sort of progress in one of them. I obviously don't believe that anymore. I feel like you can focus on all three at one time, but I'm going to show you exactly what used to happen for me before I became a dad. So if you focus really, really hard in on your social life and your family life, you spend more time with your family, you go out a little bit more at the weekends, you go and enjoy the finer things in life, and you're working full time and you're doing all your shit in work, then your thing that would suffer would be your health and fitness. Naturally, is what I used to think. If you start focusing a little bit on your health and fitness and you're working full time, then you might see a little bit less of your family, your social life. You might have to drop off at the weekends, so on and so forth. If you start focusing on actually socializing, seeing your friends and your family, and your health is in a good place, your fitness is in a good place, then usually that used to mean that you've scaled back in work a little bit. You're not working as hard. That's what I used to think. But now I just don't think that's the truth anymore at all. And surprisingly enough, this is what most men actually think. You probably think it yourself. You're like, well, if I'm going on a fitness journey now, I'm gonna have to leave off some social events. I'm gonna have to say no to some social events. I'm gonna have to scale back with the amount of work that I'm doing. If you say that you want to go on a holiday, you're like, well, I'm gonna have to sacrifice my fitness while I'm away. Most men would believe that. And you're not wrong to believe that either, but I want to flip your perspective and I want to show you why it doesn't have to be that way. Because when someone does become a dad, usually what happens is you step into a new identity. You stop identifying as someone who can just do what they want, and you start identifying as two different things. You identify as a provider, provide for your family, and you identify as a leader for your family as well. And what usually ends up happening, and I'm just going to draw a second triangle just to demonstrate this is where the dad bod acceptance comes from. And this is where people start telling themselves, oh, I've got a dad bod now because I'm a dad and this is just part of who I am and I don't have time to go to the gym. And the triangle, this will be a really bad representation. It gets lopsided. It's a really poor representation. So on the long side here, you got your work. That's really important to you. Your family. And then this little bit at the bottom, sometimes even none, ends up for your fitness, and it just gets a little bit forgotten about. Or else you still try to follow the same old pattern that you once followed before, and it doesn't work because you just don't have the same amount of time, effort, and energy available to do it. So usually what happens when you do have kids, when you first become a dad for the first time, things change. You've less time, you've less energy, you've less mental bandwidth to actually spend across the week. Your pressure in work, it starts to increase a little bit. And this is where the triangle starts to become a bit lopsided a bit. And this is where people start telling themselves, I don't have the time to go to work. Sorry, I don't have the time to be fit anymore. I just don't have it anymore. So my biggest revelation over the last year since I became a dad is realizing that you can actually focus on every single area of the triangle equally. But you just have to have a couple of sacrifices along the way. So let's draw the triangle again. Keep it nice and simple this time. Family at the top. We're going to go for work in the bottom right. And we're going to go for health and fitness. Health and fitness in the bottom left. So you can still focus on every single area of this triangle, but you're obviously not going to be able to focus on them all equally at the same time. So what I used to do before I became a dad is I used to put a huge onus on my health and fitness. I used to train so that I could be in unbelievable shape all year round. And that was it. That was all I cared about. Work was also there as well. And I did care about my family. Health and fitness was the number one. So when I became a dad, I was like, okay, well, this is what I used to do. I used to train 5 days a week. I used to restrict my diet and I used to say no to social events. Can't do that anymore. It's not possible. So now what I do is I train less, I restrict myself less, but I have a little bit more of awareness about what I'm eating. And I don't say no to events. Some events I say no to because I don't want to go to them, but I don't necessarily always say no to events. So to give you an example, because each week is going to be different on how you prioritize things, imagine you have a really busy work week, right? So we'll go busy work week here. How you would set up a busy work week is very different to how you'd set up a nice relaxing time away on holiday. So your work is going to be high focus here, HF for high focus. Family is still going to be focused, but it's going to be a little bit less than work. It's going to be medium focus. And then your fitness as a result, fitness as a result is going to be low focus, but it's not going to be no focus at all. You're still going to focus on it a little bit. You're just not going to do as much as you once did. If, say, we were going away for the weekend, so it's a family weekend, you're off work, so there's no focus on work because you're off there. Family is going to be high focus, and then fitness is going to be medium focus. You're going away with the family. You're still going to do something fitness. You may go for the walk with them or something. So what I'm trying to say here is the goal is not to be perfect with your health and fitness. And where a lot of guys usually go wrong is that they just try to be all in. There's all or nothing approach, and they get stuck somewhere along the way. Reality of things is, right, and I'm going to tell you this straight up, is that when you're a dad, there is never going to be a perfect week of fitness. You cannot be relying on having to get into the gym 5 days a week. Sometimes you're going to get in twice, sometimes you're going to get in once, and you have to be able to accept that that is a win. So this is what we do in the rebuild system in our Life Lift Repeat project. And this is the most simple approach that I could possibly give to you. I want you to see it so that you can implement it in your life right now. Instead of training 5 days, train 3. Instead of spending hours meal prepping, you keep your meals nice and simple. You're going to aim for 30 to 40 grams protein, 3 to 4 meals a day. Simple. And instead of having to train on set days every week, you're going to have a flexible structure. A structure that doesn't say, I have to train on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have to train on Tuesday, Sunday, and weekend days. A structure that says, okay, this is 3 sessions in a week. Go and fit them in around your schedule. But make sure when you put them in your schedule, you actually get them done. So if you are a dad at the moment and you're struggling a little bit with your health and fitness, you feel like you might have let yourself slip a bit, just know that it's not your fault, and it's not the fact that you don't have time to go to the gym anymore. It's just that you just haven't put your priorities in the right place. Your life has changed massively. So you need to start acting in accordance with your new life. You've stepped up as a provider for your family. You've stepped up as a leader. You are now living the life that every man wants you to be able to live. The only issue is that you haven't been able to take that and put it into your health and fitness. So remember the triangle. Remember that there is a place for every single area of your life in your life, but you just need to make sure that it's in there and it needs to be a priority to you.